everyone, welcome back to another YouTube video. As I promised in the last video, I'm going to start talking about my next project, which is power steering. So I'll show you some of the parts that I have here first, which is kind of my plan. So as I mentioned just briefly earlier in the last video, some of the problems with the power steering on this model is that this is a 1967 C20, and so in that year they did not use like a normal power steering gearbox. They had kind of a different setup, almost kind of like an early power steering rack, I guess maybe would be a good way to say it. I'm not sure if that's right either, but just a totally different system. And then the following year, then they went to a typical power steering gearbox, which they continued on until a couple, even into the next generation, into the square body. So it's kind of a science project of adding it, especially if you have, like I said before, the motor that I have. I can't really get some of those motor parts, and so I'm having to kind of create my own little system. And as I said before, I'm trying to do it on a budget. So that's always the trickier part. So I'll show you what I have so far. Vince had asked me what I'm drinking. Today I am drinking the Zoo Suit Riot from the Side Door Brewery in Concord, California. Very good IPA. So let's talk about some of the stuff that I am going to be using. First up, this is the gearbox. I got this. This is supposed to be from like a 80s, early 80s square body. And it's supposed to work on mine. I don't know if it is or not. This thing is a beast though, man. It is super heavy and it's supposed to work, but we're going to find out. A lot of the stuff I'm not going to know until I take it apart. But it was a remanufactured unit, and I got for about $100. It's a Cardone. I don't know how you say it, but that's what it is. I got some different AM fittings that are rated for the pressure for power steering, and some different fittings to connect it up to the pump. I got one of these guys. This is a Russell adapter. This is going to be for the pump. It's going to go into the pump to adapt the hose fittings in this and into the AN lines, and then go into here. This is the gearbox side of that same line. Then that's this fitting there. That'll be for that. And then this is the fitting for the output of the power steering pump, and that's going to go back then into our return line here onto the power steering pump. This is out of a Volvo. I can't remember which model it is, like an S40 or something like that. But the reason why these are usually sought after is because they can be ran in limp mode. So you can just connect the power and the ground, and then one of these is basically like an accessory on. You could think of the gray wire like an accessory, and that will power up the pump. And even though the pump is not communicating with the CAN system, it will still continue to operate in what's called a limp mode, or at a certain percentage of normal operation. Now, I did see that there's some guys in Europe that have figured out how to create little devices to control these. So that was the other reason I picked this, was that if I ever wanted to, I could buy one of those systems. You can either get like a little dial that you can adjust it manually, or you can even get like a little GPS unit, and it will sense your speed and then adjust your power steering accordingly. Because, in different driving conditions, you don't need the full power steering. And other conditions that you may need very little power steering. So that was the other reason why I picked this one. I would have rather had the one that had the all contained in this unit, but this one has the external reservoir. So there's like another little box that you can just mount that this goes right into. So I'm going to chop that off and then just mount it right above it. I did think about getting a cooler. I'm not really sure about the cooler yet. I haven't decided, but I might get cooler for it. I've heard people say that that's a good thing to have for it. The other thing that I needed for it then was power. Like a lot of guys like just buy all the power kits for it and like go buy all the wire and stuff like that, and it's really expensive. So the cheapest option that I could figure out was to buy an amp wiring kit. It busted out when it was in shipping from the Amazons, and it had pretty much everything I needed in it. It has the fuse. You need to have it fused. Um, it's got all the power lines, the ground lines. It's got a small wire for the turn on that will go to the ignition. And it was a fraction of my, this was like 15, I want to say $15. So it was very inexpensive in comparison to buying like all the raw cable and that kind of stuff. So that's what I ended up doing in order to make that work. That's all the goodies here that I got. I'll get you up a little bit closer and you can take a closer look at all the part numbers or all the items if you want to see more about it. Well, that's all the goodies that I got for this project. But the truth is, I'm not going to know until I get this thing apart and find out the condition of what's there, and also what I'm going to need. I have some things that I think that will work with it, but there's so many other variables. So I don't really know until I get it apart and try and fit it up and see how it works. I know I'm probably gonna have to trim some of, like, there's a core support, I guess, that you just kind of need to take just a little piece of metal off just to make room for the new power steering gearbox. And I don't know like how the steering shaft is going to mate up with this, with the rag joint that's in there now. Um, the other thing is, I guess there's also like a dimple on this guy here. If you notice here in the video, you can kind of see how this is dimpled right here. And I guess on the frames on these trucks that had power steering, where this was bolting to the frame, there's a dimple. And so that would allow this to sit flush on the frame. My frame just has little bumps where the four mounts go, but it does seem like it's probably not as much as this is. So some guys say that they space them out. They put like little spacers there to just kind of move it out. I don't know. It can't be much, like less than a quarter of an inch, maybe between an eighth and a quarter of an inch. Some people also like will take a torch and heat up the frame and put like a dimple in there, just a little bit of a dimple to make room for it. I'm kind of inclined for the spacers. Just I don't know. It seems like to me easier, but also I hate to like heat up the frame and like beat on it. I don't know if that changes any of the properties of like its hardness or something. So I know that there's problems with cracking on the frames where these are at. So it just seems like that may not be a great idea. So the power steering pump that's in there now, the steering gearbox has only 3 bolts that hold it in, and this one needs 4. So either way, I'm gonna have to go buy some more bolts just to get them all to mount it on there. But a lot of this is just gonna be taking off the current one and just seeing what exactly I'm gonna need. Bit of a bummer because once I start this, then the thing is parked. I can't drive it, so I'd really like to try and get a solution quick for any problems that I run into. All that stuff. I don't know if I'm going to need a different pitman arm. So I just got to do it, and hopefully it's a good time to do it where I don't need to drive it at all. I did loan a pitman arm puller from O'Reilly's Auto Parts. The O'Reilly's, go on there. It's only $15 to rent it, which is great. And I get it back if I bring back the tool. So I hope the thing comes off easy. It's only been on there, like 55 some years or something like that. So I hope it comes off easy. So I'm going to try and hit it with some penetrating or liquid, or if I have any WD-40 or just something, and see if I can get that thing apart. I'm really hoping it's easy. I'm going to bop it with the impact, just give it a little toot with that, and we'll see what happens. But I'll take you guys along. Let's go. All right, guys. So here's the OG. This is the non-power steering gearbox. So you can see there's 2 there. Let's see if we can get you all the way up there. I don't know if you can see that, but I think there's one bolt up there. And this is supposedly right here, like where you have to notch this out. But I notice like it's kind of got like a dent there, but yeah, I'm not quite sure exactly where that's gonna have to be notched. And then we see the old rag joint up there too. It's looking pretty crusty, so I don't know. Hopefully this thing will come apart without too much work, but we'll see. It's not looking good. All right, so I went to the O'Reilly's and I had to get a socket, big old 1 5/16, and of course it was on a 3/4 inch drive, which I don't have, so I had to buy an adapter to a 1/2 inch. So I don't know. I'm gonna try and give her the beans and let's see what happens. All right, let's see if we can get this guy off of here. Might need a breaker bar or something because I don't have an impact wrench this big, so let's try it out. Oh, dang. That ain't budging much. Oh, I think I got her. I think I got her. Oh, I think I got her. Yeah, yeah, buddy. We got her. Look at that. Man. So, step 1 complete. The next step is to see if we can get that off with the Pitman arm puller. It's actually not terribly rusty. I've seen a lot worse, I think, from Iowa cars that are covered in nastiness. Alrighty, I got the puller here. Here we are, rented it. Gave her a couple of love taps with the hammer. I did that before I started the video so I didn't blow out anybody's earphones. And then we're just gonna see what happens. I don't know. I didn't know. Never done this part before, so this will be new. Let's hope nothing breaks. Let's see here, this way. Woo, she's not even budging. I'm gonna give her another little love tap. Negative. Well, this thing may just not have the beans for it. It's just the standard impact. Actually, a little bit older even. So I'm going to maybe get a socket on there and we'll see if maybe that'll help out. Man, I feel like I'm gonna die here. She is hot. I really want to catch this on video, but I feel like I'm gonna like break my phone when this puppy goes. Oh, she might be moving. Might be moving. Oh, buddy. There she goes, right there. Oh, man, that's awesome. Look at that, guys. How great is that? So, up next is getting it off of there. And getting that out. Getting the power steering gear off here, or the old I keep saying that power steering gear. Sorry, that's not what it's called. But let's see what we can do. I think that's the right size. The steering gearbox, I guess, right? Let's see here. There we go. Thank goodness those are not as bad. The other thing I noticed while I was down here was that all these old suspension fittings have grease fittings on them. So you could, and somebody greased them at some point. They were staying up with greasing them off. So that's pretty cool. I thought. You don't see that much on your standard vehicles today. Alright, let's try and get some of these other ones here. I have to go dig around an extension. Don't really want to work right under it because then I get a face full of crap. There we go. And the last thing we got is that rag joint, and that puppy, that thing does look pretty crusty. So I'm gonna pop that off. Look at all that play in the steering wheel. That's like before it even like hardly moves. I don't know if you can see all that play. That's how much that thing rotates before the arm even begins to move. That's crazy. Let me show it to you guys. I don't know if you can see that, hopefully. Just kind of an odd thing. So this thing's pretty crusty. The pitman arm probably could use replaced. It doesn't have any play in it, but at the joint. So for now, it's gonna stay till I get some more cash money. Ah, snap. No bueno.